On today's show, we're joined by Daniel Amigone, the executive producer of Brady Tkachuk's episode on Face-Off Inside the NHL.
Plus, we debate who will join the Ottawa Senators franchise top 10 goals list first, Tim Stützle or Drake Batherson.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today is Wednesday, November 5th, and Pilsy, 4 years ago today, Brady Tkachuk was named the 10th captain in Senators franchise history.
Yeah, a massive day for the organization, the city, the fan base, Brady. It was just a huge day, and they made the right choice, in my opinion. I know there was some rumors that maybe Tom Chabot would be a guy that was also being looked at for captain, but Brady is clearly this team's leader on and off the ice. Like, honestly, obviously biased, Ross, but I would say he's one of the better captains in the league. Like, he does exactly what you want from a leader.
He's now the 16th longest serving captain in the NHL, so exactly halfway up the ranking in the leaderboard right now. He's also the second longest serving captain of the Ottawa Senators. It's going to take a while for him to get to number one. Daniel Alfredsson led the team for 14 seasons from 1999 all the way through to 2013, but it was a three-way tie, and now Brady separated himself from Erik Karlsson and Randy Cunninworth, who each led the team for 4 seasons. So during this stretch, Brady's played 310 games. He leads the team in goals by 20, more than Tim Stützle since being named captain, and he's second behind Timmy in points during that stretch. Not to mention everything he brings with the physicality, the leadership, the passion, and the community initiative that he's brought to the city of Ottawa, which some people would say, hey, their hockey players play hockey. To be a leader in a Canadian market, you have a responsibility to whether it's media, sponsors, the fan base. And Brady has taken that all so in stride. Could not think of a better player and person to lead the Ottawa Senators than Brady Tkachuk. And hopefully, Pilsy, for November 5th to come, we're looking back on this day fondly, as it would be wild for him not to be the captain for the next decade of this team.
Or longer. Yeah, I mean, as long as Brady Tkachuk is on the Ottawa Senators, there's no doubt that he is the captain in my mind.
As long as Brady Tkachuk is in the NHL, he should be a captain of the Ottawa Senators.
Sure. Yes, agreed.
Now, Brady Tkachuk has already risen up the all-time goals list for the Ottawa Senators. He's 9 away from 200 goals in his career. He's 4th all-time. 218 is the next player to catch, and that's Alexei Yashin. Then it's another probably season and a half before he could get to Jason Spezza, and maybe another half decade before he gets to the franchise's all-time record with Daniel Alfredsson up at 426 goals. But if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll find a nice tie at 12th between two teammates right now, Tim Stützle and Drake Batherson. Each player has 121 goals. They're only 5 away from tying Erik Karlsson for 10th in franchise history. So in a few minutes, we're going to debate which player gets there first. Identical goals through almost 300 games or 400 games for Tim Stützle and exactly 401 for Drake Batherson. But before we get to that, those two players were back on the ice for practice today, and they're on the same line, which makes this an even more fun debate. Joining them on the top line was Nick Cousins. No changes up front for the Ottawa Senators. Dylan Cousins centering Ridley Gregg and David Perron. You got Shane Pinto with Michael Amadio and Claude Giroux. And then Lars Eller with Curtis McDermott. Sens are 4-1-1 when McDermott's in the lineup. I've been told I have to say that. I have it in my back pocket every time his name's brought up. And Fabian Zetterlund. The back end, Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, and then Tyler Kleven with Jordan Spence. Could Spence be making a return to the lineup tomorrow when Ottawa faces off against the Bruins in Boston? And could we see a revenge game? Linus Ullmark in goal or Levi Meralainen? Of course, Ullmark's got a long history with the Boston Bruins. Pilsy, were you surprised to see Jordan Spence lining up with Clevin at practice?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit considering the way Travis Green has used him, but he's still a point per game guy. And I think up against the Boston Bruins after a long break, get Spence in there. It's the dad's trip going to Boston and Philadelphia. So it's nice that Jordan Spence is going to get that opportunity to play. And I just think regardless, Jordan Spence should be in every game, and it should be deciding whether or not to get Matting Palo in the mix, not the other way around.
Yes, and Jordan Spence still with 5 points in 5 games. Of course, the mistake against the Islanders looms large, but great to see because Ottawa needs to have their best players playing throughout the lineup. Pilsy, you look at the Ottawa Senators as a team, and we did so more yesterday and Monday on the show. And if you missed yesterday's episode, Lyndon Slewage is 10 out of 10. Absolute beauty. We're really excited that we're able to chat with him. So go check that out wherever you get your podcast. Got another great interview coming up today. But before we get to Daniel Amigone, Pilsy, what's your answer to the question? We want to see your answers as well in the comments. Who gets to 126 goals first? Tim Stützle or Drake Batherson? Really, it's 126 to tie, and they'll need 127 goals to pass Erik Karlsson on that ranking. Who gets there first, Drake Batherson or Tim Stützle?
So to boil it down, really the question is who's going to score 6 goals, their next 6 goals quicker between Tim Stützle and Drake Batherson. I'm going Tim Stützle. Timmy is a shooter now, Ross. We need to understand that. He leads the Ottawa Senators in shots with 40. That's 18 more than Drake Batherson. Now, Batherson's only 1 goal behind him, but the way that Timmy has now understood how powerful his shot is, and his goals haven't been like deflections or rebounds or things like that. A bunch of them have just been him walking in to the circle and gripping and ripping it, or highlight reel goals like his goal up against the Montreal Canadiens. Like, he's able to find ways to score now. He's not doing as many ridiculous extra passes when he should be shooting. So I'm very confident that Tim Stützle is going to score 6 goals first.
This is great too, because both players are on 5-game point streaks coming into tomorrow's game. And I'm going to go with Drake Batherson because the guy has proven it with 5 goals in his last 6 games. So he's caught up a little bit here. I mean, Timmy's got 4, so he's keeping pace more or less. But Drake is just kind of adding that element to his game. And I will also go with the angle that Drake Batherson's going to be playing a little guilty for the next couple of games after the turnover. So I think he's going to have it a little extra, wanting to finish and make sure that that he's producing for the Sens. So not that he hasn't already. And where you went with shots, I'll also point out that in 3 of Drake's first 4 games back from injury, he only had 1 shot in each of those games, but he's risen that. He had 3 against Montreal, and he's got 16 shots in his last 6 games. So he's upping that to almost 3 shots per game. So I'm going to go with Drake Batherson, but it's a good debate because both players are red hot right now. Both players scored on Saturday against Montreal, and they're both really, really feeling themselves. I don't think either know nor care about getting into the top 10 first, but it's fun as a fan to wonder and place your wagers accordingly.
Ross, honestly, I hope it happens the same game. Let's get Timmy scoring first and then Drake scoring right after. And both these guys keeping pace with each other and keeping that competition going, because without Brady Tkachuk here, a lot is going to be relied upon on these 2 guys to keep scoring goals. And I mean, more relied upon the goalies to stop goals, but these 2 need to keep things going here.
So now, if you're already penciling them in, as we should, that they'll both be in the top 11, I guess tied for 10th by the time, let's say, the Olympics comes around, I would hope. But will either player get to number 9? Both players are exactly 31 goals away from tying Sean McEachran at number 9.
Ooh, 31 more goals this season.
So you're looking at you're flirting with 40 on the season if one of these players gets there.
I mean, it's not crazy to think that both these guys will be in the 30 goals. And in fact, I think we should expect both of them to be 30 goal scorers.
Can they get 40?
Nah, I don't think so. 40 is just so hard. And I would stick by my take that I think it's more likely that Timmy would be able to do it than Drake.
Yeah, it's close. And it's funny because neither of them are first on the Sens in scoring. Still Shane Pinto, 2 goals up on both Stützle and Cousins, and then Batherson's goal behind that, although played 3 less games and leads the Sens in points, Batherson does. But I'd say long term, Tim Stützle is the more likely to get to 40 this season. And I mean, it was one of my hot takes going into the year. So I do still like that. But in the short term, I do like Drake Batherson to have the next 6 goals for the Ottawa Senators. We'll put a friendly wager behind the scenes on this one, as the Ottawa Senators finally, it feels like, back in action tomorrow. It's been a long 4-day break, but I'm telling myself, hey, it's actually a good thing. The deep breath and the ability to do some video and try. I'm very much expecting them to score first on Thursday and to come out like the way the Habs did on Saturday. They had their 4-day break before the game against Ottawa, and the Sens were coming through a more busy schedule, and the Bruins played last night. They got a big win. They're going to be a tough team at home for Ottawa to handle. We'll have a full game day preview on the show tomorrow, but now let's get to our interview with Daniel Amigone. Really insightful conversation. We get into how the sausage is made with face-off inside the NHL. And then we ask him, hey, Brady was great, but could we get a Senator next year? And if so, which one would you most like to see featured? That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses, start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly straight to your door, nice and easy. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. Don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses, start making moves.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. Make the GLEBE Central Pub at 779 Bank Street your home base, because the vibes are free at the GCP. They've got something every night of the week, whether it's live music every Saturday or wing nights, Mondays open till close. You can get 80 cents per naked wings, $1 per breaded wings. It is an awesome way to start the week. Every Wednesday at 8:30, they've got open mic night, and Tuesdays are for trivia. So bring your friends and try to get everything right. You know that you're in the right when you're at the GCP. You also can get on the GCP shuttle. Yes, the GLEBE Central Pub is bringing you to and from Ottawa Senators games for the low round trip price of just $18. There's only 4 games at home in November, but it's bang, 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 bang. So get your tickets right now for the 4-game homestand. They've got the shuttle running Sunday, November 9th against the Utah Mammoth, then Tuesday against Dallas, Thursday against the Boston Bruins, where Lyndon Slewage will be singing the anthem, and then Saturday, November 15th against the LA Kings before the Sens head west. Get your tickets at GLEBECentralPub.com. The GCP, where the vibes are free. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you at 779 Bank Street. All right, we now welcome a very special guest. You know him behind the scenes if you watch the most recent season of Face Off inside the NHL. It's executive producer and showrunner Daniel Amigone. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me, fellas. Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Happy that the NHL is back in full swing. And what a rush it was having it drop right before the regular season. The new face-off inside the NHL presented by Amazon. It was just such a great reminder for Sens fans, especially in the Brady Tkachuk episode, the road to get to the playoffs and how it was all going to start from scratch this season. My first question for you is, how long does one episode take to put together? Obviously, you have to harvest all the footage, but once you have everything in front of you, to put it on the timeline and get it ready for air.
That's a good question. Yeah, it runs the gamut, because sometimes a real life event could kind of come along and change the story that you're telling. So we try to edit while we shoot to an extent, but say the Sens missed the playoffs, that would have changed the narrative at the end. So we have we had 2 editors working a 12-week schedule. So by TV standards, it's tight, but you have time to craft the schedule, or to craft the story, and to get it right. But it's it's 2 editors, a producer, a lot of notes coming in from all sides, and you're still shooting. So it's a hectic process to get it all on that timeline and to make it feel smooth and good. And the more time you have at the end to polish, make it sing, make those pop music tracks kind of flow through the footage, that's where the magic happens. So, you hope you have that time at the end to make it great. And for this, obviously this was a mostly regular season, mostly Four Nations type story. So we had some kind of time at the back end. And this being the first episode, the most eyes are on episode 1. That's the one that people want to set the tone, to get it right, to have those wow moments, and to start the series with a bang, and to quite literally, and to have people click through to future episodes.
Yeah, I think I speak for all Sens fans. We were pretty stoked to see that Brady Tkachuk was one of the players chosen, but I want to latch on to something you just mentioned there, where you decided to have Brady Tkachuk's episode as the first one, because you emphasized how important that was. Is that something, as you're doing each episode and covering each player, you're like, ooh, this one could be the first one, or, oh, now that we're finished this actually hits better from the top? Like, what was it about the Brady Tkachuk episode that made you decide, all right, we got to start with this one?
So there are a few things, and number one, it's best laid plans. You sit down at the beginning of the season, and we knew we wanted part of his story to be the shadow that Matthew cast. So that just makes sense to start with in episode 1, to have last year's Stanley Cup final referenced. You don't want to get like midway through the season and then you're flashing back to last year's Stanley Cup final. So chronologically, that seemed to make sense. We also knew that Brady was one of the bigger stars that we had committed early on, and his story was good. You always look for that moment of a person on the cusp of something great. He was on the cusp of, playing meaningful hockey at Four Nations for the first time. He just became a father for the first time. He's trying to get out of Matthew's shadow, and the cherry on top is break the drought that the Sens have been, under for the last several years, get them back to the playoffs, return to relevancy, be that kind of leader captain that he wants to be. So all the elements were there for this story to make it that really strong first episode. And then, like I said, chronologically, it just kind of made sense to reference last year, new character, new day, where Brady kind of takes center stage.
So how often were you either checking in with the Ottawa Senators or interviewing Brady throughout the season? Was it like, we've got these few set dates, or, oh man, like all of a sudden that Rangers game that you guys had in the show, that was a pretty big game right after the deadline. Let's change our schedule and make sure we've got our cameras there. What does the behind the scenes look like for that?
Yeah, you have your plan, and then you throw it out the window as soon as real life events start to happen. So we knew that Four Nations, the Tkachuk family just kind of gave us full access at Four Nations. So we were with Walt, we were with Matthew, with Brady, with the family, and that we knew that would be a big set piece for us. And we knew shortly after that we'd spend some time in Ottawa for our full, we call it kind of a master shoot. We sit all the guys down for an interview. and then you kind of understand, okay, what's the deeper story that you have there? So, those are two shoots that you can basically write in pen. We're going to do those. And then from that point, it's really watching the standings. You pick out a couple games. Okay, they've got a Leafs game, towards the end of the season. That could be jockeying for position or getting them in. Like, let's circle that one. Maybe we'll be there. And then, like you said, the trade deadline happens. Brady's best friend gets shipped out of town. That, wasn't something we necessarily focused on in the series, but that felt like, okay, things are happening. We should probably get back up to Ottawa. And, it's easy to make those plans and write them down. Like the team, the player, the agent, there are a lot of people who have to say, yes, come on up. To Brady's credit, to the Senators' credit, they were amazing to work with. There was never a no that came from them. Brady, I think, again, I'm sorry to admit this. I'm a Buffalo Sabres fan, and he is
sorry.
Yeah.
You guys have our number though.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. But he is a tough customer on the ice, and so you never knew what you were getting into. But he was just such a really dynamic and nice person off the ice. It just it all kind of, when you have that level of buy-in, there's almost no story you can't tell. So it's that's like I said, you make a plan, you throw it out the window, and you hope that you really just need a beginning, middle, end of the story. And that's what I tell these guys when I sit down with them the first time. We're not going to be there as you're waking up and going to the bathroom. And like, we can be selective, we can be targeted, but if you sign up for this, we need a beginning, middle, end of the story. And they all seem to grasp that.
Hope you're enjoying our chat with Daniel. We'll get right back to it. But first, Pilsy's got a word from our friends at FanDuel.
Yes, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push, and especially when you're cheering on the Ottawa Senators in the NHL and you make a please help the Sens parlay. Ross hit that last night. I hope all you guys followed and were riding along, and you can do the same. Why not do a couple shekels every night on the please help the Sens parlay? And right now, if you're a new customer, FanDuel is giving you $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now, looking at your IMBD page, Daniel, you've done lots
IMD what?
IMBD? INDB. I was looking at it too when I was trying to say it. Looking at your resume, how about I say it that way? That's a better way to put it. You've done lots of work with other athletes and in other sports like golf, UFC, basketball.
Yep.
In your opinion, was it difficult to get these hockey players kind of out of their shell, so to speak? Because I feel like that's kind of the narrative with hockey players is, they all have the canned cliche media answers. They don't want to say anything that, might be misconstrued or taken out of context. So they have a very kind of safe way of speaking. Was that your experience at all? Or were you able to, with time, get them out of their shells?
I hope so. I think, that's 100% still the case in the NHL. I think it's changing. The young guys know that, hey, it's beneficial for me to get my personality out there. There's opportunities, there's money that comes along with that, and there's growing the game, But yes, the NHL is still very much kind of tallest poppy syndrome. Like even a guy like Seth Jarvis, who has signed his ticket, is a bona fide player in the league on Team Canada. We would be filming with him, and his teammates are behind the camera, ribbing him and saying Hollywood, like that type of thing. I don't think that will ever change. And it's too bad. And I think, you just kind of, you have to choose the right guys who are comfortable in their skin. Like William Nylander could care less if you're, if someone's chirping him in the locker room or, so yeah, I think, I've worked with a lot of different athletes in a lot of different settings, and hockey players are a very special breed of, I think there's legit humility there. I think there's a lot of things that are beautiful about hockey culture, about the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the team first mentality. But as someone who's trying to tell, personal kind of, character based stories, a guy like Brady Tkachuk or Matthew, or Jeremy Swayman, those guys who will just let it rip, be themselves, and could give a crap, like that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, that's a great point. I wanted to ask more about kind of shooting it or kind of going through the hockey theme versus the other sports. Does it change at all your storytelling, or is that very much whatever sport it is, the stories are the stories?
I mean, to an extent, I always say I don't do sports programming. I do like human programming and in the world of sports. But as we know, hockey is a different animal. I grew up playing hockey. My son's playing hockey. Like there's a toughness, there's a grittiness, there is a warrior mentality, and that humility that we talked about. It's like, so you don't want to fit a square peg in a round hole. Like, you want to be true to the environment, and from picking music to graphics to, everything should feel as if it is within the hockey world. And everything that comes along with that. I think, these guys are tough as nails, and using that in the storytelling, showing the lengths they go to, getting stitched up between periods and hitting the ice again, like things like that, those are great additions to the story, and they build the world. There's a lot of world building that goes into that, but the story ultimately needs to be relatable to someone who's never laced up skate. Doesn't, so that needs to be kind of on more of a human level.
How much unused footage from each episode is there?
We could easily make 3 series, I would say.
We might get a GoFundMe going for an extra Brady Tkachuk episode. Because
sure.
The day after, I think he was announced, the Senators were on a road trip. Their season was starting to turn around. And it was that night where Brady took a high stick in the face, got stitched up, and then scored the overtime winner. I was waiting for that the whole episode. I know you guys had much more to do, but we were right after that game saying, I can't wait to see that again in the summer.
I know. You can't fit it all in. It's like, I wish we were there too. But I mean, just him and Pinto alone, I think, could have their own buddy comedy.
Oh yeah. What else did you learn about being around the Sens when you were, like, from interviewing? I saw Pinto, Tim Stützle, and a few other guys were discussed during the show. But what was the vibe like around the team?
Yeah, I mean, the culture there is fantastic. They really seem to be on the same page. Brady is unquestionably the leader there. You have a guy like Claude Giroux who's seen everything. He kind of fades back in and lets Brady, be the leader in the room. It's Brady's fiefdom. It's Brady's kingdom. He really, and asserts himself, and his character, his traits really kind of, carry through, and man, they've got a lot of young talent too. Guy like Sanderson, just seeing him up close is fun to watch. And then, Allmark is a guy who, I'm familiar with in Buffalo. We interviewed him last year in Boston. I think he kind of fits in perfectly there, and is just a hilarious, doesn't take himself too seriously type of a guy. So there is like hey, we know we can be good. Stop messing around. Stop, like, we're not the kids anymore. This is like, it's our time to, like, be one of these perennial playoff teams. But there is also, like, we're going to wrestle in the weight room. We're going to, we get to play hockey for a living. Let's not take ourselves too seriously, but let's go out and kick some ass. So, it was, I'm sorry to say it as a Sabres fan, but I was really sometimes rooting for the Sens last year.
Well, hey, you guys got a good one from us too. We're huge Josh Norris guys. We actually got to sit down and chat with him like the week before he got traded, and we're like, man, Sen for life right there. Obviously, it's unfortunate, the injuries and everything, but he's a hell of a player. Final question for me, Dan. I think Pilsy might have one too, but if you had carte blanche, season 3, you have to pick an Ottawa Senator. Whose storyline would you be pushing for that this is the guy we want on?
Good question.
Damn, 2. Hell yeah.
That's a good question.
Oh, double.
I mean, Yeah, I think Stützle, to me, like that level of player, I'm always going to be kind of interested in seeing like what makes him tick. Coming from Germany, there's just a different story there, and it seems like he's another guy who's kind of like undercover, funny,
Oh, he's a
yeah,
beauty. One
yeah,
of our favorites.
yeah,
We made a bet with him last year, and we got buzz cuts because they won a game. So I made a donation to Sens Foundation, and he sent his barber over to my house.
I love
Gave
it.
us buzz cuts. He was
Great.
he looks so stoic, and he's obviously so serious on the ice. But
Yeah.
you get that guy in a more casual setting, and he's all time. I thought you were gonna say Shane Pinto, who just would be.
Same.
You wouldn't need a laugh track for that one because it would just be him giggling the whole time.
As I was saying, I'm like, I think Pinto would make a lot, and get something for the ladies as well.
Oh yeah, they're big fans. He's the modern day Mike Fisher, we call him in Ottawa.
Easy on the eyes for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, man, that's awesome. Well, hey, we're gonna be pushing then Tim Stützle season 3, Amazon,
Yep.
Inside the NHL. Billsy?
Yeah, definitely want to see that. Final question for me, Daniel, is we've seen these type of like reality shows for hockey in the past, but in the past it seemed to always just be Road to the Winter Classic or following an outdoor game or something where it was following two teams that were leading up to one game and then showing that game, and that was it. And that was awesome. I think everybody liked it. But in your opinion, what caused that shift from, okay, we're not just going to cover an outdoor game or one event. We want to follow different players in different situations on different teams throughout the whole season. Like, what is it about the audience that you guys at Amazon and other people like Netflix have decided, hey, the audience wants more than just that. They want to see the whole picture.
I think, yeah, I think you just said it there. I think the audience, it's a little bit of been there, done that. You're trying to evolve the form a little bit, and what is going to get you attached to a person? What's going to get you to buy a ticket to go see this person? What's going to get you following their Instagram? It's caring about them. It's caring about win, lose, or draw. What happens to this person on and off the ice? So, I think it's an urge to tell a 360 view of a person as opposed to, okay, here's a hockey player, they're gonna win or lose this game. So yeah, I think it's been an evolution. It's largely based on what the audience is looking for. I think viewers are smarter now. They're more discerning. There's more choices for them. So you can't just show, hey, here's some cool angles of a game that you already watched and some interviews. You have to add another layer to it for people to need to tune in. So yeah, I think it's gone that way, and honestly, that's what interests me too. That the off ice stuff, the stuff that my mom cares about. My mom's a hockey fan, so I shouldn't put her down. But like the thing that you can watch with your whole family, and everyone will find something different in it. So yeah, I think it's just been an evolution over the years, and I think it's even going to evolve for even further. Yeah, I think that's been kind of our approach as we've gone through the years.
Well, it's been awesome because, like Pillsy said, the old Road to the Winter Classics, I was always hooked on those. And I know you had a part in helping produce the one with the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs. Everyone can go check out all your great work on your BDMI page. Is that what it is, Pillsy?
Close. It's actually IMDb page.
Database. There you go. Daniel Amigone, the executive producer and showrunner for Face Off Inside the NHL. Truly, Daniel, we enjoyed the hell out of it, and we are very much hoping for a season 3. So really appreciate the time today, and thanks for doing this.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah. Season 3, looking forward to it. Have a good one, and yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Stick taps to Daniel for joining us. Really fun, insightful conversation with him, and we can just have our fingers crossed that we see Tim Stützle or Shane Pinto next season on Face Off Inside the NHL, presented by Prime Video. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Yeah, I'm really excited to follow along with Daniel's career on IMDb. I'm going to make sure to be checking that because anything he seems to do seems to be awesome. So now that I've got those letters in the right order, IMDb, I can follow along properly.
Yeah, it's awesome. Congratulations, Billsy.
Thanks.
There's,
I had to double and triple check that. I even typed it into Google, Ross, to make sure I nailed this, and I got it wrong when I typed it in. So I figured it out now.
The HLN schedule for tonight. Oh, wait. The NHL schedule for tonight.
I'll say
5 games. The Utah Mammoth, second half of back-to-back in Toronto, taking on the Leafs. Easy route for the Mammoth game there. Then you got the St. Louis Blues in Washington to take on the Caps. Calgary hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. You've got Vancouver at home against Connor Bedard, homecoming for him, against the Hawks. And in Seattle, the 6-2-4 Kraken are hosting the Sharks. Pilsy, please help the Sens parlay tonight if people are interested. It's one where this is like a 2/10 of a unit game, because I do not trust the Calgary Flames. Did you see their coach is trying to fire up the boys with ChatGPT?
Yeah, no, that's smart. Anytime I'm looking for inspiration, I want it to be from AI, not a real human.
Yes. And these teams, they do have like analytics people, right? They have human. They have human AI.
Yeah, I mean,
they have HI.
Calgary's down bad. But Ross, if you do want to put a bet on Calgary and maybe consider this as a levy lock, I don't want to put locks in your mouth, but Nazem Kadri, 1,000th game, I put a couple shekels on him to get a point.
Yeah, I like that. So it's the Mammoth, the Blues, and the Flames tonight. That's the West versus East. Who you got?
Some of the worst teams other than the Mammoth. The Mammoth is obviously awesome, but second half of a back-to-back. Yikes.
Yeah, and they went to overtime. And not a far travel, though, Buffalo to Toronto. So I like the Mammoth here, plus 120. I like the Mammoth, just the way they play. They're fast. Them and the Ducks out west are two teams that I really enjoy watching. So, we'll sit back on the couch, kick our feet up one more night, and then the Ottawa Senators are back tomorrow, part of a 9-game slate, and it's the second of 3 matchups in the first month and a half between the Sens and the Bruins. They'll be in Ottawa next Thursday as well. So fired up for that. We'll have a full game day preview for you tomorrow on Locked On Senators. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. You can find us on social media at Sens Central, and leave a 5-star review everywhere you get podcasts. Does help out the show. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.